Namaskar. Friends, on this auspicious occasion of the festival of light and on the day of Dhanteras, I would like to share with you that I have decided to launch a YouTube channel called Urban Guide with the very honest and sincere intention to share my knowledge and experience with the various stakeholders, including the policymakers, the city managers, the citizens, and various media persons. If we look at the global trends in urbanization, in developed countries, more than 60% of the people are residing in urban areas, and even the rural areas also match with the urban areas in terms of infrastructure, both physical and social, as well as the service sectors such as water supply, sanitation, sewerage, in terms of health facilities, education facilities. There is hardly any difference in the service levels in rural areas and urban areas in the developed countries. Whereas in the developing countries, we can mark a noticeable difference in the service sector as well as infrastructure sector. The most important factor is that in developing countries, due to the rapid increase in population by leaps and bounds, large number of people from rural areas come to cities for employment, for education, for health and other facilities. However, our urban areas cannot cope with the increasing population, and then we see the difference. On one hand, there are skyscrapers, and on another hand, we see near about 40% people living in slums in very unhygienic and pathetic conditions, which can only be equated with hell, if at all there is any. I have spent nearly 30 years in the field of urban management and worked in various capacities in municipal councils as well as municipal corporations. In municipal councils, I worked as chief officer, and in municipal corporations, I worked in all capacities, right from deputy commissioner, additional commissioner, and municipal commissioner. I had worked in 7 urban local bodies. I had also worked as chief executive officer, Smart City Nagpur. Over a period of 30 years, I have realized that both our policymakers as well as implementers have miserably failed in living up to the aspirations and expectations of our citizens. We talk about the problems only when we face problems. We think of short-term solutions, and once the problem is over, then we really do not look for sustainable solutions. We do not look for resilient and sustainable cities. We talk about our problems, and whenever in global terms we talk about cities, we talk about earlier Millennium Development Goals, then Sustainable Development Goals, and now we are talking about new urban agenda. Fortunately, the present governments at the center as well as in the state, they have realized that urbanization is going to be there. It is a continuous process. Though urbanization poses a lot of challenges, these challenges are not insurmountable. The challenges can be easily overcome with the public will, the political will, and the bureaucratic will. All three wills coupled together, we can certainly overcome any problem. And as I often say, no problem is permanent, and there isn't a problem which doesn't have a solution. So for the challenges which we have been facing in urban areas, in our mega cities, in our small towns, can easily be overcome if we discuss the problems with all stakeholders, if we accept the solutions which evolve out of those discussions and deliberations, we implement we implement the solutions, and then ensure that the sustainability is there. I will be actually delivering a series of lectures, but I believe that whenever I start my lectures, it should not remain a monologue. I intend to have a dialogue with like-minded people, those who have worked in the system earlier, those who are working today in various cities, in various capacities, maybe as engineers, doctors, or administrators. I would also like to actually discuss all those problems which the citizens have been facing, because all our efforts should be citizen-centric. Therefore, the citizen participation in these deliberations will really help the policy makers and the policy implementers to find out the solutions and to implement the solutions successfully, to overcome the challenges which our generations have been facing and the challenges which the next generations will have to face. It should not happen that our generations overlooked the problems, did not take adequate steps to solve those problems, and as a result, the next generations have to suffer. For example, the environmental damages which are being caused to our natural resources, resulting into devastating effects on the present generations as well as the future generations. We often say that we should leave this planet better than how we got it. If at all that is to be done, then in the field of urban development, there are lot of issues, there are lot of problems which need to be discussed, and the solutions need to be implemented in true spirit. Then and then our cities will survive. If the cities survive, the state and the nation will survive. Otherwise, due to problems, then in future our cities will not be able to cope up with the various problems which we have been facing right now. And it's not that only in developing countries the cities have been facing problems or challenges. Even in developed countries like Europe or America, they are facing problem of water scarcity. In some cases, in some cities, they are facing problems of urban floods. Then in case of high-rise buildings, the safety issues are there. So these are the problems which we need to discuss at length. Initially, it may appear that this would not be the right time to talk about it, or right forum to talk about it, but I personally believe that there cannot be better time than the present one, because most of the citizens have experienced horrible situations in their lives in last 30 to 40 years. Some citizens have experienced epidemics and pandemics. Some citizens have faced the untoward consequences of some natural disasters and calamities. So it's not that any city which doesn't have problem today will not have problem in future. The problems will always be there and the solutions will always be there. The solutions which emerge out of intellectual deliberations will only solve the problems which we have been facing now. With that view in mind, I have decided to launch my YouTube channel, Urban Guide, for the benefit of city managers in particular and citizens in general. I do sincerely hope that all stakeholders would proactively support me in my endeavors and will get benefited out of these deliberations. Thank you. Once again, I wish you happy Deepavali and happy New Year in advance. Thank you.